A lot going on this morning. Jeff Sessions testifying before Congress. As much as the Republicans want to investigate Hillary Clinton, Jeff Sessions essentially this morning was saying to them, you know, I'm not sure that's such a great idea. I mean, you know, he didn't say it exactly like that. It was more like, yeah, we'll have some regular prosecutors look into this and we'll see. But, you know, I think essentially he was saying no. And there's a reason why. The reason why is that Jeff Sessions doesn't want to be investigated by the Attorney General of the next administration, which may well be of a Democrat. I mean, there's been this, and I'm not a fan of this, by the way, but there's been this kind of tacit agreement ever since the Nixon years, when Jerry Ford pardoned Richard Nixon and Cap Weinberger and all these other guys. Oh, wait a minute. Cap Weinberger was pardoned by George Herbert Walker Bush. But in any case, Jerry Ford, I'd have to go back and look up the Nixon stuff on all the people that Jerry Ford pardoned. But anyhow, Ford established the precedent of we don't look into previous administrations. Or he just maintained it. I don't think that there has ever been a time in the history of the United States when we've looked into previous administrations. Maybe wrong on that, but to the best of my knowledge, no. And presidents tend to very much like that. There was a lot of pressure on George W. Bush to investigate Bill Clinton. There was a lot of pressure on Bill Clinton to investigate George Herbert Walker Bush and Ronald Reagan and the whole Iran-Contra treason thing, et cetera. But, you know, nothing ever happened. So that's going on. I mean, there's a fair amount in the news. And we're going to get to all of it as we go through the program today, or much of it. All of it that I think is really important. But first, I wanted to do a deep dive with you. I wanted to step back a little from the constant scrum of you know, the latest Trump scandal and the most recent outrage and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Because these things, you know, the Trump constantly popping into the news literally every day. I mean, I don't remember this during the Obama administration or any other presidency, frankly, of my lifetime. That every day they look for some way to get in the news, even if it's negative. Now, why would that be a good thing for them? Why would that work for them? Why would they think that it's desirable to be in the news for something that there's a lot of outrage around? George Lakoff is the professor of cognitive science and linguistics at the University of California, Berkeley. He is now he's retired since then. He's a distinguished professor. He's now the director of the Center for the Neural Mind and Society. The website for that is cnms.berkeley.edu, and his website is George Lakoff, Lakoff.com, maybe .org. I should double check on that, but I'm pretty sure it's .com. Yeah, it's georgelakoff.com. There we go. He published a piece on his website back in the middle of last year. This is July 23rd, 2016. And he published this before the election. Now, he's not predicting Trump is going to win, but he's laying out all the strategies and techniques of essentially mind control, or persuasion might be a more appropriate phrase, that Trump has been using. Now, Lakoff explains them in academic terms and gives us a good understanding of them. I'm not sure that Trump has anything close to this kind of an academic understanding. He just knows what works. I think that for demagogues and wannabe strongmen, this is intuitive stuff. But there actually is a system here. And Lakoff lays it out. And I wanted to, you know, we talked about this back last year, and in fact, late last summer after Lakoff first published this, I had a conversation with you at some length about, you know, what's in this. But I wanted to, you know, do a little deeper dive here. Lakoff, there's a series of learnings, a series of details, a series of frames, understandings that he's sharing with us. The first has to do with how conservatives and liberals view government. And he says in this worldview, government is viewed as family. And that there are basically two kinds of families. There's a family where the strict father is in control, always right, and everybody kowtows to daddy. That's the strict father family. And then there's the nurturing family, where dad and mom and everybody in the family, or mom and mom, or dad and dad, as it may be, everybody in the family are working to nurture everybody in the family. We're all in this together. Now, Lakoff points out that the strict father model is intrinsic to conservative thought and understanding. And it's also built into our religions. In fact, it's basically the only model that's built into our religions. I would argue that Jesus tried to change that and was only partially successful. But in any case, Lakoff says, we tend to understand the nation metaphorically in family terms. We have founding fathers. We send our sons and daughters to war. We have homeland security. He says, in the strict father family, father knows best. He knows right from wrong and has the ultimate authority to make sure his children and spouse do what he says, what is taken to be what is right. When his children disobey it, his moral duty to punish them painfully enough so that to avoid punishment in the future, they'll obey him and do what's right and not just do what feels good. And what if they don't prosper? That means that they're not disciplined and therefore can't be moral and so deserve their poverty. The poor are seen as lazy and undeserving, the rich as deserving. Responsibility is thus seen as personal responsibility, and there's no place for social responsibility in this strict father family worldview of conservatives. Which answers a whole bunch of questions that a lot of people have been asking. You know, why is it, for example, that conservative states want to drug test and now work requirement Medicaid. Why would they do that? Isn't health care our right? Shouldn't everybody have access to health care? I mean, certainly I was ranting about that yesterday. Well, if you view poverty, even for people who are working 70, 80 hours a week, but they're working for $7 or $8 an hour, if you view poverty as a moral failing, and you believe that when people fail morally, they need to be punished so they won't do it again, then if somebody's poor and they don't have access to health care, you punish them. So that's the first thing. There's a whole series of things here. I'm going to go through them over the next 15 minutes or so, and then we can talk about it. The second, winning. In the conservative worldview, well, let me back up to the nurturing family. The nurturing family worldview is that we're all in this together. So obviously everybody needs to have health care. If everybody doesn't have health care, how can we have a functioning society? Everybody has to have food and shelter and education. This is just, you know, these are just givens in a nurturing society. But in a strict father society, where the job of the society, of the father, of the government, the proxy for the father, the president, everybody else, the strict father's job is to instill self-discipline and righteousness. Then the principal job of the government is to punish. It's to serve as the surrogate for the strict father, or to be the strict father. And there are a lot of people who are raised in strict father families who want that. Certainly this was the normal form of child rearing in Germany, for example, in the 1920s. Look where it got them.